Here we are at Capital Audiofest. Scott Hull, Peter Bruninger, Kevin Olson, reporting on one of the great regional shows in our area. I'm going to kick the thing off and say, I love the show this year. I don't know why. I mean, it's at the same hotel it was last year. Same kind of people were here. A lot of the similar exhibitors, but somehow I just liked it better. I thought the sound was a little bit a notch up from last year, and I don't know. The vibe was good. You could, at the lower level in the lobby area, there's a number of rooms off the lobby, and you can go in there at night, have yourself a libation, sit and listen. The lights go down in some of the rooms. The MBL room has its traditional tape party. There was also the room across the way, these giant horn loudspeakers that were brought up by Howard Swain. He had his room open last night. It was really cool. We sat there, we had some fantastic listening. The Daedalus room with Mod Right, they were open last night as well. A lot of people coming in and out. I love that. It's like your own personal audio party. So, did you guys, I didn't see you at the party last night.
I was at a lot of different parties.
Ah!
No,
just had nothing to do with audio.
That's right. I did not have, I didn't make it to Ijaz's house, but I did, there was so many different groups going in different directions.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I think is probably the most important element in an audio show, and it's not the music, it's not even the gear, it's the chance for audiophiles who normally spend, I don't know, 90% of their hobby picking lint out of their own navel to actually get up and talk to people that have the same illness and share that affliction. And it's bewildering. I mean, right now you have some audio forums, and audio forums are annoying. They're difficult to manage. It's hard to have an actual conversation. Mm-hmm. Feelings are hurt and repaired all in the space of a single set of posts. It's so much easier just to sit down with a tasty adult beverage, sort out whatever difficulties or differences you're actually having, and get to that common ground, which is a mental issue, disease, problem, whatever. But it's really nice to be there and share this with people. Well,
that's what we do. That's what the shows are about. Well, let's get going. Some of the highlight rooms. Kevin Olson, you've been at this for, gosh, a long time. Kevin, as you know, is our go-to reviewer. He's been at CBS as a technician. He keeps our airwaves and broadcasts static-free, I'd like to say. And he just is loves equipment. IRS 5s have come through your house. I mean, there's so many different speakers that have come through your house. I really do trust your ears. When I want advice on something, if I'm thinking about a purchase or recommending something to an AV showrooms, perhaps there's an email, or perhaps someone saw an alert and they send us a PM on one of the many boards, I will ask Kevin. Kevin, what stood out today?
I'm waiting for the but. But he's a big pain in the rear. You know, not that much stood out, but what kind of stood out for me was how much good sound there was. Mm. There really wasn't that much really horrible sound. I mean, some of it was better, some of it was worse. But there wasn't anything that I went like, oh, you gotta be kidding. The other interesting thing is you could almost figure the sound as inversely proportional to the size of the loudspeaker. It seemed like this was a show for smaller systems rather than some of the larger ones. And I'm sure we'll talk about some of those systems.
Scott?
I was going to say that the thing that struck me most profoundly was that system downstairs you mentioned last night, the Altec 70-year-old recreation
Actually,
system.
it's RCA.
It's RCA.
Right. Yeah, people have been mixing that up.
So the fun thing about this particular system, you will go into any of these other rooms, especially some of those super high-end rooms, and you'll talk about sonic specificity, soundstage placement, air, all of these wonderful audiophile terms that may or may not mean something to you, or whatever, means something different to anyone who you may mention them to. And you go into this particular room, right? There's nothing in terms of audiophile awesomeness, right? There's nothing above, say, 14 kilohertz. There's nothing below, I don't know, 100 hertz, right? It's just right there in the middle. And I so totally didn't give a damn. It was just so amazing. Yeah. You put Diana Krall, just to use a really trite example, in the room with you, and that's all very well and good. But I was at a Dylan concert. Not like Dylan's in the room. I was at a concert with 5,000 people in the front row. It was huge. Soundstage is 30 feet tall. It took an entire wall of speakers to be able to do this, but it was baffling. You sit there and you go, this is how old? And we really haven't made a lot of progress. That was my first, one of the first rooms I went into, and it was colored the entire weekend. I looked at this and I said, really? Wow, we really have not made giant strides. We did some stuff way back when, and that was, I believe, not only the high watermark of the industry, but we have been kind of trying to recreate that, and that was profound for me.
Well, I think that my impression of it, and I was thinking about it because I was listening last night, these things are racing through my mind, exactly what Scott's saying. I come from the major title room. There's great horn speakers in the horning room, and I'll talk about that in a minute. An outstanding mono session, no more than an hour ago in that room. And I'm baffled too. I'm sitting there going, you know, I don't have that sound stage I always like to talk about. I don't have that pinpoint imaging. I don't have image density that I like to talk about, and all these buzzwords that we kind of make up over the years. But yet I'm drawn into the music.
It stripped all that stuff right out.
Yeah, it took it out. Yeah, it took it out.
I just didn't care.
Yeah. Thing is, we do care. We do care about soundstage. We do care about detail. He's lying. He's lying. That's why we do this. We love to hear all these different presentations. I love to hear a horn loudspeaker. I love to hear electrostatic loudspeakers. I love the Maggies. Kevin reviewed the Maggie 3.7s. Bob just got a pair of 20.7s or 6s, whatever the number that they're up to now in iteration, and they sound wonderful. 7.
Could I temper this? They used to know how to do it, but they forgot, with the fact that the stuff that we hear now and love is the very, very top 0.01% of the equipment that was available. The only things we know about the stuff that really was great back then. You can talk about tannoys, the quads. There were 2 sets of quads here at the show. Quads are still wonderful. You talk about the big horns and some of the vintage stuff. But that's the little bit of cream on the top. Today we have tons of good equipment.
The cream is certainly thicker.
Yeah,
the cream layer.
Yeah.
The cream layer is certainly thicker.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't want people to think that, like, oh yeah, they used to know how to build audio equipment.
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
They all forgot. They lost their textbooks.
Well, there's something about this, right? So there was a time when, and this was made pretty clear. I forgot who actually said this to me. It may have been Mr. Swain, but you know, way back in the say 30s and 40s, the best and brightest technologists, engineers, developers, scientists were focusing on sound and sound reproduction. And today they're focusing on digital, not audio, just digital. So there's been a real shift in the market. It's really not surprising how far they got with what they got. And analog is great. It's really kind of cool. And horn speakers, there's a reason why they're still popular. Is it perfect? No, right? It does some things. This room specifically did something for me that it has been difficult to really kind of recapture, which was surprised me. It totally surprised me. I had no expectations walking in, and I walked out of there going, wow! And that's really fun. The flip side of it, the thing you got earlier, mentioned earlier, I think audiophiles that were coming through were able to spend a whole lot less money for sound quality. And that may be one of the primary lessons I think people could have pulled away from this particular show. There was a whole bunch of systems that were under 5,000, in some cases way under 5,000, that sounded absolutely dynamite.
Well, how about the Odyssey? Odyssey had 2 rooms. The one was like $6,500, and it was really, I mean, very, very fine. Next door, they had one. If that was too much money for you, they had one for $2,200 that you still went, man, I could live with this. I mean, so there's...
Well, yeah, I mean, not just live with it, but really thrive on it.
It was really good, yeah.
If I had that kind of thing when I was, 22 or 21 in college, I would have been way more popular. It's true. I would have been way more popular.
Well, you might want to think about that. I'm not so sure. Anyway, I know I wouldn't have been more popular.
You'll see it in the video, viewers. We have Klaus from Odyssey. We did a video in one room, played same track, took the CD over to the next room, played the track. You can hear it. New microphones on the camera, the technology's improved a little bit, the 4K technology. Klaus was really specific in explaining what the systems were. I'll tell you, it's good. It's a potent video, and Kevin, you're touching on it, but you can, I think, again, Kevin's right. I think the overall takeaway from this show is good value. You could get a lot of sound for a little bit of money.
I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of stuff that was on offer. I mean, I think Neat Acoustics, I think. They had a $1,000 speaker. Mm-hmm. I heard Klaus's system, the $2,000 system, and that was extraordinary. And there was a variety of other elements throughout the show that really just didn't blow the top off on pricing, which was great. Mm-hmm. And then there was the headphone, the Canmania, right? The headphone
Canmania.
And this was the largest collection of personal audio vendors I'd seen outside of Rocky Mountain.
Yeah.
Huge number. Yeah. Kudos to Frank Iacone and the crew for setting that up. Thank you, Warren Chi. Thank you, Michael Mercer. All you guys. This was great. It was a education. You walk through here. You go from one end of the audio spectrum, spending $150 on a pair of headphones, up to $1,500 on a pair of headphones or more. And you could track the progress and say, yeah, that's clearly, that's much better. Holy crap! What the heck is going on? And I think when I was doing headphones 20 years ago, this was not what was available, right? They've gotten really good. I don't know if anybody's missing Mr. Speakers these days. He's headlining shows. This level of sound quality is very remarkable. It was very special, and I was happy to go through and see all of this stuff laid out and start really kind of understanding why this is popular. I mean, yeah, sure, Beats driving the industry, but headphones, there is so much to this. There's a lot of depth.
So much.
Thick layer of cream.
Relatively new, too, because if you went back 20 years, the only headphones that were any good were a couple of Stax models, maybe a couple of oddball orthodynamic models. And that was it.
Well,
everything else was.
I argue on that.
I'm going back before the Sennheiser 600s and stuff.
Okay.
The 600s, to me, that when they came out, that was sort of the new era, start of the new era in some ways. But I'm going back to the old Pickerings and the old Kosses and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was 30 years ago. 30-some years ago, that was all that was available. It's not like with home audio where you can say, there's quads and there's spenders and there's very little good headphones back there now. So it's new, relatively speaking.
So it's kind of fun, You have this kind of juxtaposition where you have the ability to spend $10,000 on personal audio that you can share with no one, and have a level of high-end sound that in many cases can rival systems 10 times as expensive in the traditional stereo sense. And then you can go into another room, spend $2,000 and have another incredible experience and share that with your entire family and all of your friends and your neighbors down the street. Really, really interesting sets of experiences that were on offer. I thought that was a really nice.
Well, look who's joined us. Herb Reichert from Stereophile. I've known Herb Reichert for over 35 years. He's part of the early age of audio. Particularly, we used to call it the New York Mafia. And we had Herb Reichert, J.C. Morrison, Noriyasu Komuro, Don Garber. And these guys excited the world and lit the world on fire with single-ended triode technology. Don Garber had a store down in Lower Manhattan where he would have like exhibits of amplifiers with a flower next to it. And you would walk in like an art gallery. And it really was a new world. It had started in Japan and had come over here through the genius mind of Noriyasu Komuro, and excited a whole new movement in audio. Herb was part of it, the epicenter of it, and Herb is back.
He just called you old, Herb.
Well, geezers and audio.
Wear it!
Embrace it! Embrace it! Embrace it! Embrace it!
Thank you. Embrace it.
So maybe we should talk a little bit about tubes.
Yeah, I think we should talk about tubes.
So one of the tube systems that kind of blew me away, has been blowing me away for the last 5 years. From the first time I came to the first Capital Audiofest to this one, Border Patrol.
Yes.
Border Patrol. Single-ended triodes.
Yes.
I think at this time he was actually showing a push-pull 300B system running into Living Voice.
It wasn't integrated, he was showing. And it had a single power supply box, because Border Patrol, I always look at the monoblocks. And whenever I hear Border Patrol, it's always the room's crowded, or they're on different speakers, and we had it perfect. It was yesterday, we went in the room, nobody was in the room, the air conditioner was shut off, you could hear a pin drop. And Gary was perfect on the camera. He told everything about the system. He was excited about what he was doing. And our listening session was just off the charts. It was really good. Really, really good.
He's been really, really reliable. So it's always fun to see him come out for these shows. Yeah.
And he moved here from Great Britain to...
He did. Yes, he moved.
Yeah.
Expat. He is an expat, yeah. Okay, well, that'll lead us into another expat. I don't know where Robin Wyatt's from, but he surely has an English accent.
No,
not at all.
No, all of these people are coming from, actually it's a different planet, but they speak that.
Yes, they do. They do.
So Robin Wyatt was showing the Miyajima with some Quad 57s.
Yes, he had, and the whole deal with the Robiat setup, room next to each other. One room had the quads, both Quad 57s in identical setups, well, sort of identical. One tubes, one solid state. So we started off. We played a track on the solid state. We took the record back in the other room and played it on tubes, and it was like, forget about it.
It's all very amazing.
It's amazing.
I asked him why he's using quads, and he just looked at me like I had grown a third eye, because I'm young. And he so, what have you heard that's better? And I said, I don't know, Robin. And then he got really close. What have you heard that's better? Nothing, ever. It's perfect. The point is it actually was really good. It's outstanding. It's one of these things we were talking about earlier. Some cases, old is not bad, which is good for you, right?
Well, you should mention Kent at Electrostatic Systems. He's the guy who's providing these, the rebuilds and the new panel, the new thin Mylar.
Yeah.
I don't even actually think it's Mylar. And
he gets them off of eBay or something like that. These old models, and then completely rebuilds them.
Well, that's a great segue.
With the Apogees.
Yes. Speaking of refurbs, the Apogees in Bill Thalman's room, music technology. Oh my gosh, he has a pair of Apogee calipers. My goodness gracious, he had stripped them down, refinished them in automotive paint, this little teeny red speckles in this black background. I mean, it's like, wow.
That's good.
It was better than new.
They were really
it almost
good.
doesn't matter what they sound like. They look so good.
They looked so good. Yeah, I wanted to just take them home.
He had a vintage Conrad Johnson. I think he'd also
he
rebuilt
did.
in there.
Yeah, he had a vintage CJ that had the hybrid model.
That's his world.
And so anything that you have, if you are into older audio equipment, but not the super old stuff, but stuff that the classic vintage years from 1985 through 1995, Bill is a magician with rebuilding it, recapping it. If your power supplies are on the fritz, if your amp smokes, turn it off, call Bill Thalman.
So there's been a couple others for tubes, right? So there was, honestly, what's his name? The Magic guy. So High Water Sounds, Jeff Catalano has been showing tubes for as long as probably I've been alive. And using them today with Horning, and these little 1.5 watt, I think they were they were TW.
They were TWs?
And they were 1.5 watt. I think it's 45s.
No, the amps were Trons, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think they were Trons. Herb, what did you think of that room?
I should start by saying Jeffrey not only is my brother, but he's my oldest friend. I've known him forever.
Okay.
And the building he's in, actually he lives right next door to Robin White, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They live right next door to each other in these loft buildings in the seaport. And the intensity of the two together, have you ever been in a room with two of them? Is
no opinions there at all. They're
no opinions. No, humble guys are not.
But for some reason, you would have never thought these two could actually, get along. But they've, they can take a show over by themselves with the energy they bring.
Looking back, I can't think of a single room that Jeff has put together that was not really good.
Yeah, he's a magician at setting up rooms.
He's really good at
it. When I met Jeffrey, he was my neighbor across the hall, or we built this place together, but he had a Fisher 500C, an AR1 turntable, and some AR loudspeakers. And he had the biggest record collection I had ever seen at that point in my life. And one day he made some money doing construction, he had some profit, and he went to one of the biggest high-end stores in New York and he bought a $60,000 hi-fi with these giant speakers. 90 days later, he sued these people because they wouldn't take it back. And he said, first of all, my old system sounds better than this, and second of all, I only get one channel most of the time.
Oh, God.
And he won the lawsuit.
Oh, really? Wow.
And it was at that point that he said, I'm going to, and I was in audio at the time, and it was at that point he said, all right, we need some new blood in here, and I'm going to go into this. And that's what, he began the thought process.
And that's the story of High Water Sound.
High-end
Yeah, High Water Sound. Now, High Water, I'll tell you, a little over an hour ago now, walked into that room, Dinah Washington was in the room. I did a double take. I thought, well, hold it. There's a bunch of audio files. Where's Dinah Washington? But she's there. I see her. I hear her in my mind. He had a mono recording, Dinah Washington on Mercury. It was just fantastic. It was unforgettable. And in fact, it was unforgettable. And that song, it just resonated throughout the room. And I'll tell you, the goosebumps were shooting up and down my arm. And then Jeff pulled the album off and he put on a male vocal, and it was the same thing. And I thought, that's it. What else would I ever want?
Yeah, I mean, at some point I'm gonna have to buy something mono.
Yeah.
These between him and Robin, they're just relentless.
They have convinced me. Yeah, they've convinced me. So Kevin, you're silent over here. Pipe up. What do you think? What do you think of the High Water Sound room?
I don't even know whose High Water Sound is.
Okay, fair enough. You didn't get in the room. You were.
Actually, I probably wasn't in the room. What speakers did they have?
They had the Horning speakers.
No, I wasn't in that room.
No. Yeah, he was
on
on
the main floor.
Yeah, main floor.
It was the one room we missed.
Yeah, you missed. Okay.
How about some modern tubes?
Modern tubes.
I can stop any
Modern.
show just like the balloon, the air comes out, the balloon crashes.
Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Not.
How about red wine and what's the other one?
Harbeth.
Red wine with Harbeth, right? And then there was Daedalus audio with Modrite.
Yes.
Two modern. I'm cheating. I'm using the.
No,
Yeah,
there
really,
is
it's
room.
cheating. Come on,
and
stop
three-
cheating,
Actually,
guys.
you were
Come
just
on.
talking about Jeffrey with the wow.
look at this.
Red wine audio. Vinny Rossi's been
Yep.
doing the battery-powered tube delivery kind of systems now, I think almost 10 years. And he was showing with Harbeth and his own modded Sony player streamer that he pulled out the output stage and put his own stage into. So he's, I thought that was really neat, comparing that to the Modrite sound with the big Daedalus loudspeakers. You have these two guys still using tubes in their modern designs, and having, I thought, was some remarkably high quality output on both of those rooms.
Yeah, we went into the Daedalus room last night, and it was a cocktail hour. And this is the back and forth I talked about when we opened the clip up. I walked in and I got, oh, there it is, Scheherazade, LSC. What's the number on Scheherazade? The old one, I forget what it is.
2440.
2440. Yeah. And it's sitting there, and it brought back memories. I had the Philadelphia Audio Society had a huge group in a ballroom in a hotel, and Mike Hobson had brought his 45 LP test pressing of that very record, and we put the record on. And there was 350 people jammed into this ballroom. These audio files, and they were deadly quiet. You could hear a pin drop. He put the needle down, and oh my gosh, it was as if we were at church. As the movement began, and as we worked into it, and as Rimsky-Korsakov, as it began to build up, you could see tears coming down people's faces. It was like a group. It was like, I don't know how to explain it. It was like we had all drank the Kool-Aid. And it was like that last night. I felt that same feeling, and I had the same amount of goosebumps. And modern tubes, on Daedalus.
So the Daedalus loudspeakers. I mean, of all of the systems that hit me at this show, that was the most resolving, which may be a little weird to say. I mean, people think about solid wood cabinets on a loudspeaker or solid state with tubes. I played some nice tracks in there. We listened, and I had those cliched experiences where you hear new things all throughout your music that you never, blah, 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 blah. It was good. It was really good. And it was clearly above and beyond anything I'd heard from either of them before. So that was really, really neat. On the flip side of that was the Red Wine Room, which was very intimate. The new Super HL5 Plus from Harbeth was a brand new redesign of a classic loudspeaker. My first Harbeth experience, my favorite Harbeth speaker, completely rebuilt from the ground up. So having that, those are my kind of bookends experiences, totally different ends of the hotel. So it was kind of neat to kind of go from one to the other.
Well, I want to add on top of that, talking about where the topic still is tubes, and I'm sitting next to one of the world's greatest tube experts, Herb Reichert. And Herb Reichert brought and imported back in the day Audio Note, and Audio Note is alive and well. And Dave Cope from Audio Note was exhibiting in one of the better sounding rooms at the show this year. I have to put him on a short list of one of the best sounds. He's under consideration for Gold Show Awards. Anyway, the magic in that room with Todd Garfinkel's MA recording Sierra Una Noche, playing the track Nublado on the 45 LP, 45 RPM LP, was simply, it was, oh my gosh, it was a religious experience. It built, as a tango built. Yeah, it's a tango. Yeah. So we listened to it and we, all the way through. And I took the record back and I put it in a jacket, and Dave was going, yeah, that was, wow, gosh, he's taking a picture of it with his phone. Well, that was that. You know, I've heard it sound like that in the Audio Note room before. Audio Note sounds really good. I mean, it's like they like to say.
It's like you're a fan.
I am a fan. It's like your last system. They like to boast. Anyway, this morning in the halls, I get stopped. It's Dave Cope. Peter, I had trouble sleeping last night. I couldn't get it out of my mind. I was on the website. I didn't see it. How can I get that LP? And I said, well, you email Todd Garfinkel. So that was an experience for me at the Capitol Fest this year, was being stopped by Dave Cope, who hears the world's best audio equipment, some of the world's best tube audio equipment, and he himself was moved in the show. So high point for me was one of the high points, the Audio Note room. Kevin, how about a high point for you?
You know, the Audio Note, it's interesting. It's like every show you go to, it's like, Audio Note's like an old friend. You walk in and you kind of know what it's going to sound like, but you're like, yeah, I want to listen to it again. And I mean, it's like something you could buy. If you bought an Audio Note system and you moved, you set it up in your new room, it'd probably sound about the same. I mean, it's like your old friend that you take with you wherever you go.
I buy that.
And I think there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, it's you know, an interesting company.
I got another old friend for you. Check out Soundsmith while you're
here. Don't go there. Do you know how good that sounded this year?
Oh my gosh. He doesn't get out. He doesn't get out as often as he used to, and it's a shame, because I think there's a growing crop of audiophiles that should be experiencing super high quality vinyl playback, and I don't know that it gets any better.
Herb,
he was
what
doing
did you think of
amazing
Soundsmith?
stuff.
I was really honored to meet Peter.
Oh,
really was. But it's funny, you guys are talking about Audio Note, and I swear I never want to mention best in show. That's a word I'm never going to use. But there's something here that's so not Audio Note. Doug White and the voice that is, and I won't say best in show, but that room opened my eyes.
Which one? Which one? He has the big speakers and then the small. Okay.
I have never in my entire life on this planet heard transparency on that level. I've actually, that was the most amazing room I've walked into in a long, long time. Caught me totally off guard, and the man Doug White's,
he's a gentleman.
He's a gentleman.
When I first met Doug, I was calling him up to kind of work him over as a dealer, you know, kind of soften him up. And he shut me down and actually said, you know, I hear what you're saying, and I could probably sell you this, and if I did that, you're never going to call me again. And I said, what do you mean? It's because you're going to get this, and it's not going to work for you, and you're going to blame me. So let's go ahead and take the time and actually have a conversation. When you're ready to have that conversation, we'll move that along. And that's how I got introduced to Tidal Audio, right? And he was very gentle with me and very thoughtful and thought-provoking, and actually one of the first consultants I've actually experienced in high-end audio. And it was eye-opening, and I ended up getting a pair of Tidal speakers from Doug. And I love these things. The Agorias that were here, $105,000 monolithic, non-disassemblable, 500 pounds a side loudspeakers. They're breathtaking. They're breathtaking. They're very, very different from what I could afford, or most people can afford. But this is where I think the high end kind of bottoms out. After this point, you start getting to that point of the map where the dragons are, and I don't know why you want to go farther. This is amazing, amazing stuff.
Well, I agree with you. The Agorias are amazing. I visited Doug White. We shot some video in Doug White's studio a month and a half ago, and we took a little sample of Keith Unko, Nils Lofgren's infamous song. And the guitar, I was on stage with Nils Lofgren. I mean, it's a live recording. We all know it, who are viewers, or if you don't know it as a viewer, just go Google Nils Lofgren live, Keith Unko, and listen to the beginning of it where the guitar comes in. And I was sitting there in Doug White's studio, and Keith appeared. I mean, and I was there next to him, and he was right there next to me, and I wanted to reach over to my side to pick up my own guitar to play along.
He does. He actually has a pretty good music collection. I've had him kind of drive the boat quite a lot, and I've been exposed to some stuff that I never would have thought, including classical music, because that's really not something my generation does. But it's good. Yeah, we can rub that in. That's fine. I'll take that. But it was really amazing. And obviously for a couple $100,000, it had better be really amazing. This is one of the few experiences that actually I walked out of and said, "Yeah, I'm never going to be able to afford that, but." Okay, yeah, all right. I see why that would be so.
Yeah, I don't agree. I think you can afford that type of sound. You can get into it through the piano, to the contributor.
That's fair.
You can get that kind of sound. And in fact, I'm sorry, I had to do that. It's a segue. I'm going to segue into the Bricasti room. Brian Bricasti is here, and he is. He's a god when it comes to the pro audio world. He makes standalone reverb boxes. He was at Lexicon from the very, very beginning. And when Lexicon decided to move in a different direction and Harman bought Crown, he got his pink slip and he looked at himself in the mirror and he said, I can do a better job. I've been wanting to do a better job. They haven't let me, and I can do it now on my own. And he went to his best relationships, his best customers throughout the world, and said, hey, I'm going to build my own box. And they said, well, we'll buy it. So that was the beginning of Bricasti.
Yeah.
And that product sells 50 to 60 units per month. It gives him the luxury to dabble in the audio arts. And he has a fantastic DAC preamplifier, the M1. He has a new, I think it's the M28 power amplifier monoblocks that he's had out now. The second time he's had them out that are at the show here today. And the sound of those, I didn't know it was called Tidal. I thought it was Tidal. So you learn something new every day. Jadi, Jadis, Tidal, Tidal.
No, you're right. That pairing was actually
that
fun.
pairing was superb.
So Tidal has its own amplifier, which is I'm sure very, very fine.
He probably made that up.
But the Bricasti with the pianos. And I said this the last time I heard. I think it was Expona. This was the best pairing for that speaker I had ever heard.
It was wonderful.
It was amazing.
It was
extremely,
it was amazing.
Extremely powerful, muscular, without losing any musicality. Like that very much. Brian's doing really good work.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping he's going to bring those amplifiers out sometime soon.
Yeah. He's working on it right now. Yep. Okay. Let's begin to move this along. Let's go and do some best room for you.
Best room. I hate that.
Don't you hate it when I do that?
Yeah, because I mean, there's so many good rooms, and I gotta single one out. But I'll tell you, a Lifetime Achievement Award, and a room I always love to go into is a classic audio room.
Oh.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned that, but they hooked up the Hartsfields, the reproduction Hartsfields. John Wolfe. The guy's been doing this for a long time. He's been keep plugging away at it, and stuff always sounds good, and it's something you can buy and not have to worry about it. I mean, I think it's a really good company. So that would be one of the things that was a highlight for me. The other thing I would just mention is something that easy to lose in the shuffle. There's a company here called GIK that makes room treatments. And one of the really interesting things they make is room diffusers. And their diffusers are $350 a shot. And when you look at what some of the other room diffusers on the market have cost over the years, I mean, that's to the point where even a guy with a somewhat over-modest system can actually think about treating his room with the diffusers. I mean, they go out and get these diffusers at CBS. The rooms that are critical for people to listen to, the guys who are doing mix downs and stuff, there are these diffusers around. And the room that I heard them in sounded good, and there was 4 of them in there, so that's about $1,350. They looked good, and they work great, and $1,350, I mean, you can't even buy a decent interconnect for that.
Well, that's a good lead, and it'll be room diffusion. And the rooms downstairs, the larger rooms, bass issues, lower frequencies, everybody had to deal with it. The Sidourney room on the first day. I mean, I walked in that room, and those guys had the faces on. They were so long in the face. They were, oh, we're trying to get this out. I heard some rattling in one of the modules, and I go, do you hear that? They go, oh yeah, we're working on that too, but the placement's difficult, and so by today, they sounded very good. And I played this one, Mike Valentine is a recording engineer for the BBC, and he sent us a demo record, and it's got some solo instruments in the very beginning. It's got a violin and a viola, and there's a lot of picking. There's individual string plucks, and the Sidourneys. It brought the space of the instrument right into the room. Now, I played another CD, and I could have asked for a little bit more, and there was a little discontinuity between the bass and between the mid-range, but that was, I have to give, talking about room treatment, I wish I could have had like a week in that room to treat it. So, how about another room that, Herb, that you saw that perhaps was good, and then at the beginning of the show and at the end of the show, it got real good?
That Merrill room was
that's it.
Jumps out of the deck.
That's it. Yeah.
I was there actually Thursday night, and they were crying. But you know, as a reviewer, I did not come here to pick nits and see what people's work sound or what the room sounded like. To me, it was more about the people themselves. Their struggle on some level is more interesting to me than did they get the continuity between the bass and mid-range. Because what I keep seeing in this show is all these people, they're unloading trucks. I mean, they've spent, dreams and hopes and money to make this happen.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's the thing you kind of have to just be in awe and sort of, I love watching them coming and going and setting up and struggling and hoping to play. Here's the thing, though, that's strange for me because I haven't done this for a while. How many rooms had CD players? Where people, I saw a couple of 3 rooms, total, maybe 5 rooms, where you could walk in and hand them a CD. Most people had, streamers.
But vinyl or streamers,
But the graciousness of an exhibitor. Oh, give me your CD and you'll play it. And now we've got a room full of people who are forced to listen to whatever this
and they never know what this CD is going to be.
They never know what it's going to sound like.
Nobody played my 78. I brought my Joe Broussard, and they look at me like, huh? You're from Stereophile, and you brought me a 78, and you have a problem? But the gracious, it reminded me just, the beauty of that gesture of accepting the CD from a stranger and putting it in. When your reputation is on the line.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, I think, Herb, that's a wonderful point because I go to so many shows. Scott goes to a lot of shows, and it just becomes, you plunk down, you hand them music, you sit, you wait, it's you're like a robot, You're right, though. Think about it that way. I like that. Think about what they're doing and what you're offering them and what they're offering you. And you're right. There's a bond.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a bond.
And you know what I hope we're willing to do in return? And I think not just us here, but I hope everybody watching this and all the audio files. When you go to a show and you hear a room and it's not great, give them a break. It may be a bad day, it may be a bad setup, or it may be anything, but you don't know. You can listen to something and say it's good, but when you hear it and it's bad, it may not really be bad. I hope we're adult enough to say, I'm going to give it another chance the next show, not just say, oh yeah, I heard that for 5 minutes, it sucks.
Yeah, I'm not going into that room next show. Oh,
that's so childish, and I think the people who spend their time and money to come here deserve more than that from us. a little bit of respect to say, this guy's serious, he's trying to do something, let's not just trash his efforts in a 5-minute audio cowboy kind of way, you know.
I had a lot of people used to tell me why would I bother talking about sound quality at an audio show, with the subtext being that there isn't any such thing. Well, no, there's not going to be any good sound at an audio show. And in fact, we don't even expect there to be good sound at the audio show, because audio show conditions always suck. And it's been baffling to me, because I go through and I maybe am hearing something different. Maybe I'm just brain damaged. I don't know. But that's probably true. But the sound quality, generally speaking, over the last, say, 5 years specifically, that I'm intimately familiar with, has been significantly better. Maybe partly because we're starting to get a little smarter about room treatments, or more people are. Setups, unusual setups, not just the traditional plunk plunk speaker, row row row, whatever, but some of these kind of kitty corner setups, or setups using the long wall, things that are taking advantage of the room acoustics or some strange geometries. I'm seeing a lot of that, and it's profoundly impacting. So my comeback is, yes, when I hear a room that's clearly off, you're absolutely right. You gotta simply chalk that up. You write what you can, you comment on what you can, and you either come back or you see them the next time through. But when you see a success, celebrate it, because that's work. I mean, there's somebody who actually not just got lucky, well, that may be, but they put some time and effort in, and what they wrung out of this complex environment was magic, and that deserves a whole lot more than just a yay. No, there's some really fantastic sound.
Because some of these shows really can get great sound, and of course you have to have a little bit of a filter on. You have to understand that it was only set up a day ago. You have to get that through your head and give yourself a break. You know,
and you'll be surprised.
And you'll be surprised.
Yeah, if you have an open mind, you'll be surprised.
Yeah, open your mind up.
Some of the things that surprised me, aside from that RCA system, right?
Yeah.
I walked into another speaker system. I think it was in Chicago. I think I've seen it a couple times now, where the sound was coming out of a pair of planters. And it sounded amazing.
Yeah, and it's here. And it's here. And it's here. And
you know, we were talking about.
We were talking. Yeah, let's talk about that, because
it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Madison
it's amazing.
Fielding.
It's incredible.
It's finally a speaker that your wife can't put a planter on.
And they're hurricane proof for the most part.
My quote back to Art, who was running the room, I said, honestly, this is the only pair of speakers I've ever brought into the house that my wife has said, these can stay.
These filled with flowers.
These can stay. Can I put something in it right now? Because I'm going to put something in it right now. Yeah, they're actually quite good, and they're very room friendly.
Yep.
They're great outdoors. I think that's what they're designed for, your patio. Apparently, the designer owner leaves them out all winter in the snow and doesn't have any issue with these whatsoever. And I haven't had a pair now for a couple of weeks, just doing a review, and it's rained like crazy, and they're fine. They play great. I am baffled because this is not what I had expected walking into that room.
Baffled. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, you could see those in a Manhattan apartment out on your patio. You could see these in lots of locations. I could see the speaker in Southern California, because when you're flying into, say, the John Wayne Airport, you can see every house has a swimming pool. So, I mean, and the weather is beautiful. These speakers sound wonderful.
Yeah, that was a really nice surprise.
Yeah,
they image.
I mean, I heard them in Exponent.
Planters.
I know.
They're imaging.
I know. I heard them in Exponent briefly.
Where does that happen?
I don't get it.
I know.
They're
I wonder
good.
if the flowers grow better.
Yeah.
Depends if you play Mozart.
Music is
You play Mozart, yes.
It's wonderful.
You play
so-
Biohazard.
So most interesting loudspeaker, the Madison Fielding. It is a planter that you can put outside or by your swimming pool, and I would have to give it. It's the best sounding planter in the world.
Well, you're selling it short, but I think it's actually one of the better sounding speaker setups. I mean, it's got a tweeter, it's got a mid, and it's got a down firing woofer. It's a complicated little three-way box, and it's just jammed into a format that happens to be pleasing, not just acoustically.
Yeah.
And obviously, they didn't just throw a driver into a planter. You know,
I think a lot of people walk into that room and say, this can't be good. So it's like this showroom. It can't be good.
It can't be good.
And if you sit down and give it a second, you're sitting there. I remember going to Exponent and listening to these. We all sat down in the room, and they were playing music, and we're waiting for like the big reveal, and they're just what? And we're looking at well, where's the speakers?
Yeah.
And he's looking at us. Seriously, it's Madison Fielding. And we're like, where are the speakers? And he said, right there. And I said, no, really, where are the speakers? Is there a subwoofer in here somewhere? Is that a subwoofer? No, that's the speaker. That was very fun.
Yeah,
I liked that a lot.
There's a cliche we could retire. Whenever anybody hears a mini monitor that has decent bass, they say, it sounded like there was a subwoofer in the room.
Yeah,
no, it
nice.
didn't.
Yes, we can retire that.
That's another little surprise. The the Clue, right?
Yeah, the Clue.
The Clue,
It
right?
sounded fantastic.
It's one of these speakers that
$1,000.
for the same kind of I've got a problem and I need to solve it kind of crowd. Yeah, I think one of the things that maybe every audiophile is told at some point to get the speakers off the wall, bring them into the room, give them space around. And if you're in a small place, maybe in New York or some apartment, or you're just kind of living by yourself, or you don't have that much room you can reclaim 3 feet of floor space with a pair of speakers that are actually designed to be put up against the wall and sound good doing it.
Audio Note.
For $1,000.
Audio
So
Note.
there's Audio Note.
There's a high-end system that's made to go in the corner.
Yep.
And, you know, boy, you take a room and you take the speakers out of it and put the speakers in the corner, it makes the room look twice as big.
It's as
It
true.
does, that's true. Yeah.
I could see a significant other saying, oh, I got my room back. Oh, yeah, there's the speakers are in the corner.
Yeah.
Okay, the speakers are still here. That's good.
So I thought that was a nice surprise to see those guys. That was a fun thing. It's an easy recommendation.
Yeah, it sure is. Another one that I can easily recommend, and we just did it this afternoon, was Vanadu. These are $500 powered out speakers.
Yeah, those are
I mean,
good.
that's really good sound too. I mean, you're talking like the Q for $1,000, and now $500, half of the price. Still big sound. You'll hear it on the video. I think the video captured it really well. I put the headphones on after I'd shot the room into the camera, and I thought, wow, that sounds just like what I heard in the room. So I think you'll like that video.
Zoo Audio, I also wanted to call out for going completely the other direction.
Yeah.
Sean Casey. So there's a couple guys at audio shows that you have to go, and it has nothing to do with the gear. You just have to go and listen to what they brought. So we'll get to Sean in a second, but you know, Jeff Catalano actually drives across the country, stopping at record stores. So his record collection grows en route to every and it's fun to see what he found on the trip out. I go to him and listen to music, and it's usually audiophile quality stuff, weird pressings and stuff. He's the musicologist. Sean Casey from Zoo Audio is the exact, I think, polar opposite, the sense that he's the guy who could care less about the particular provenance of this, that, or the other. He certainly knows that stuff. He collects that stuff, but he's also the guy playing electronic dance music. He's playing shoegaze. Is that a thing? I didn't even know that was a thing. Mm-hmm. So he's got all of these genres of music that his kids listen to and his team listens to. And I think, because he's my age, so I have no experience with this stuff. So I look at him and I say, how do you know all of this stuff? And he said, how do you not? Because this is what people are playing. This is what people are playing. And he's got a really good point. If you're looking to try and do the hobby from the perspective of it's all about the music, you got to go to the guys who really are about driven by the music and not by the esoteric kind of experience, just the music. And I think it's really cool walking into his room, hearing stuff I've never heard before, put on some affordable speakers or some very powerful speakers, some very dynamic speakers, and it's just so unassuming. He'll let you DJ, he'll play whatever you want, and he's got a really nice collection of stuff that I've never heard of. And it's an experience going and finding these guys at an audio show. And I think it's one of the best things about an audio show.
What makes it hard is we don't have record stores anymore. Used to be, you go to the Princeton Record Exchange or someplace like that, and the guys would be playing stuff, and you go like, what's that? They say, oh man, you don't know what that is? You know, that's so-and-so. And you say, oh, they're great. Well, yeah, but you know, you learn that way.
But you know, I'm gonna call you out on that. Record sales are
slowly
coming back.
We're talking about record sales. I think most of them are mail order and that sort of thing. I'm talking about the record store where you walk in and the guy's playing music on the system, not because he's trying to sell you a record. He's bored and he wants to listen to some music. And that's how you get cross-germinated with other people's tastes and interests.
And speaking of record
I found
stores,
a lot of stuff that way.
there was this show, you could have called it the VPI store.
There's a lot of
VPI here. So I mean, when you wanted to play a record at the Capitol Audio Fest, there's a good chance. I mean, if you're a betting man, I mean, I tell you what, I would take my life savings here and bet on whether it's going to be a VPI or not, because I think most every record player, outside of a couple, outside of a handful, the majority of the record players here were VPIs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked to Matt very briefly. He was with his girlfriend walking around with nomads, kind of promoting this, and somebody asked him, well, why doesn't he just take out the headphone amplifier and make a cheap turntable? And he was very straight up. He said, I don't want to be making these long term. I think these are a crossover product that people will start looking at and bring people into the industry. Mm-hmm. I'm sure somebody's going to go ahead and make this for a whole lot cheaper. But my point here was to say that there is things that are happening in high-end audio, and we need to kind of be aware of that. Mm-hmm. Vinyl being one. Right? So Michael Fremer educated me not too long back, and he said there are 3 major trends in high-end audio. Vinyl being one that's really not a surprise coming from him, right? No.
Yeah.
And then there's high-resolution audio, 2. Yeah. And the third is headphones. So the Nomad brings 2 of those together very neatly in a format that's, well, I wouldn't call it portable, but it is certainly not one of these $100,000 kind of things. It's a grand, right? You get this thing, you put it in, and you're done. All you need is a wallboard and your headphones, and you've got a high-end playback system that brings you right into 2 of high-end audio's 3 major trends. I thought that was brilliant.
I do too. And then the Classic Direct, it was, which room was that in the Classic Direct?
I didn't see it. I hear it was around, but for me it was mythological. I never found it.
Well, it was. Gosh, I'm sorry, I don't remember which room it was in. But
a force to be reckoned with.
It is a force to be reckoned with. But the trend here for LPs, it continues to grow. Yeah. And you'll see it at all the shows.
Well, about 3 years ago, it was all actually 5 years ago, it was all silver disc.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, it was all computers. Yeah. And this year, it's flipping all to vinyl again.
Yeah, it's probably at a 50-50 chance walking around.
And mono.
Yeah, and mono.
What is old is new.
Yeah, that's right.
Record collectors are the new audiophiles, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that means
it's a more diverse group on every level.
Some of them are young. Very young.
They're young. There's more women. You know, all the things that audio people are always going, oh, how are we going to get younger people? How are we going to bring in women? Record collectors. You go to a record fair, it's half women.
It's kind of fun. My wife and I go record shopping.
Yeah. That's cool. Good.
Yeah.
Good. And then the other analog medium we had here at the show, and we had several of them, we had a couple tape decks. We had, Greg Barron had 2 UHA, I guess it's up to what, phase 11s with the power supply, so it's a phase 11S. One of them was in the Sonority room, the other was in the United Home Audio room, making big sound. And when you listen to a record, it sounds much more relaxed. It sounds much more, it connects you to the music. There really is something to it. And then you take that and then you just amp it up another notch, and now you have real tape. And we were playing last night in the United Home Audio room numerous tracks off of master tape copies. And as one of the tracks, I forget which one, it was a Metallica track, I stood way back in the back of the room and I closed my eyes, and man, I was at a rock concert, man. I could almost smell the marijuana. I mean,
come on!
It was like, whoa, this is cool. So that room stood out for me for that reason, because of the concert-like experience. The Sonority room with the master tape copies of Jonathan Horowitz, which were, I think, direct copies from the tape, from his true master tapes, just sounded stunningly real. It was just, it was beautiful, beautiful,
good stuff.
Really good stuff. Okay, let's wrap up. What would you take home from the show? If you could take home anything from the show, one item, one component.
A Nomad.
Okay, Herb.
Classic Direct.
The Classic Direct.
Go big or go home.
Okay. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to take home those Horning loudspeakers and Jeff Catalano's record collection.
Oh, well.
Well, that's 2.
Yeah, I didn't know that was on the line. I would have taken that before it was your turn.
What about the rebuilt Apogee calipers?
Oh, that was on the list too. Yeah, that's on the list too. Okay.
That's interesting.
That's really cool. Yep. Well, that's it for the Capitol Audio Fest. Scott Hall with Part-Time
Audiophile. Woo!
Herb Reichert with Stereophile. Kevin Olson with AB Showrooms. Peter Bruniger with AV Showrooms. We'll see you at the next show. Come on out. We're going to be, next one is going to be in
I think it's
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
That's right. It is.
That's right.
Well,
So,
California.
yeah. And then we'll see you at Rocky Mountain.
Thank you.
Okay, see you guys.